Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. No surprise and a good call by everybody. Maya Rudolph will return to Saturday Night Live. She will play Kamala Harris. Deadline has learned that pre-production on Season 3 of Rudolph's Apple TV Plus comedy series Loot, Season 3, really? Was scheduled to begin filming on August 26th. That's been paused. The cast and crew have been told that production has been pushed for scheduling reasons. Now it happens to work out that Loot is produced by Universal Television, which also produces Saturday Night Live. Anyway, good call there. Seth Meyers will have a debut comedy special with HBO, so this one is being branded an HBO special. I've talked about in the past how that whole HBO Max thing, they've really screwed up the brand. Some of the comedy specials have been Max specials. I think Hannah Einbinder's was a Max special. Overall, from talking to you guys in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group, our general sense, all of us together, is that the HBO specials here in 2024 have not been that strong. Seth Meyers said, critics say it's the special my kids will be talking about in therapy 20 years from now. He recently filmed it in front of a live audience, I'd hope so, at Chicago's Vic Theater, great venue. No date yet other than this fall. Nina Rosenstein is a suit at HBO programming and said, as longtime fans, we're so happy to partner with Seth on his first HBO special. He's such a charismatic storyteller, and we've always loved the way he reaches people on such a personal level. This special is endlessly relatable and so much fun to watch. Pete Davidson has checked into a wellness facility for his mental health. A source tells people that mental health has always been a priority for Pete Davidson, who has been open about his sobriety journey on tour, as well as his history dealing with borderline personality disorder and severe post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, interesting to me, what you're hearing now is actually a replacement segment. I had recorded this whole thing. I had seen a few more Pete Davidson shows canceled, and I started going through all his bookings, and I was seeing schedule conflicts. I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but as I pointed out the other day, schedule conflicts tends to be code for something else. Pete Davidson, I hope you're doing okay. I'm also hoping Christina P is doing okay. She was on her podcast with Tom Segura and told the audience, I have very, very early stage breast cancer. It's totally treatable. The prognosis is very good. I will not die. This is not my last summer on Earth. It's highly treatable. I'm going to be fine. I don't want it to become my identity. I don't want to have to do the Instagram post of me in a hospital gown with thumbs up and then get your monograms, ladies. Christina did note that treating the cancer was going to mean going at it very aggressively. However, because hosting her podcast brings her so much joy, she's planning on continuing to do it as long as she can. You may recall a few months ago, she suddenly took a leave from her podcast. She warned her fans not to send her messages about beating cancer, explaining that there's nothing worse than people sending slogans or platitudes when something bad happens. She urged her fans to send me something creative. Did you see the whole thing with Donald Trump in his comments about Kamala Harris the other day? I'll leave that to the Ballot podcast. We quite thoroughly covered it there. Well, Roy Wood Jr. started a viral hashtag when I turned black. Roy said, we now know Kamala's brave story. When did the rest of you turn black? ESPN's Ellie Duncan wrote, once I was at a party and before I knew it, I was taken over by the spirit of dance, struck not by Cupid's arrow, but rather his shuffle. Then I knew I'm a black. Twitter user Labrina commented, hashtag when I turned black. I remember in the 80s when mother returned from her black job, took us to the store and uttered, when we get in here, you don't want nothing, you don't need nothing, don't ask for nothing. Roy Wood explained his decision to start the hashtag, saying, all in all, I believe this is an election that's about Kamala's ability to win voters more than it's about Trump losing voters. Biden handed her a baton and Kamala must run like the wind because it doesn't seem like anything will trip up Trump. Not even honest questions from great NABJ journalists who gave pushback when they could. By the way, you know what's tomorrow? Joe Rogan live special on Netflix. I had prepped most of the weekend, and the word Rogan didn't even come up. And then I was playing on Twitter, and there was a Netflix ad for it. Only an ad is the buzz. Why is there no buzz on live Joe Rogan? But that's Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Are you watching the Olympics? I have some questions. Is there any buzz at all on Leslie Jones' Olympic coverage? I Googled Olympics comedian, and her name came up, and I was like, oh yeah, that was supposed to be a thing. I see nothing. Is there any buzz on Kevin Hart and Kenan Thompson doing their Peacock Olympics recap show? The same Google search showed up a couple things, but they were all on the NBC websites. Is that making any cultural impact at all? I don't think so. I told you the other day, in case you missed it, I'll repeat it because it's fun. Rob Schneider had tweeted, "I'm sorry to say to all, caps, the world's greatest athletes, caps, I wish you all the best, caps, but I cannot watch an Olympics that disrespects Christianity and openly celebrates Satan. I hope these, caps, just the word these, Olympics get the same amount of viewers as C-SPAN." Mr. Schneider did not enjoy some of the things in the opening ceremonies. Well, some folks on the internet went digging. One Twitter user wrote, "Rob Schneider has an entire movie where he cross-dresses." Another wrote, "Didn't he do a whole movie in drag where he was pretending to be a teenage girl?" That movie in question is The Hot Chick, where Rob Schneider's character swaps bodies with Rachel McAdams' character. Online content creator Mike Dro shared photos of Rob Schneider dressed in drag during late-night TV appearances and for movie roles. Dro posted a screenshot of Schneider's character in Little Nicky and wrote, "Rob Schneider is dressed up as a woman for TV and movies, played a man who swapped places with a woman in a movie, and appeared in a comedy movie about the son of Satan." Newsweek contacted Schneider's representatives by email for a comment. No comment yet. Staying at the Olympics, Surfer.com, your home for comedy news, caught up with Colin Jost. He's doing the surfing coverage there for NBC. Colin said, "Yeah, it's my first time in Tahiti. Being here after seeing it for so long in videos, to actually be here watching it, the power of it is crazy." "Is this your first time in a major surf contest?" "First time being at one live? Yeah, I really went from 0 to 100. "Colin, what's your surfing history?" Jost said, "I was a really big swimmer growing up. I was a competitive swimmer. But I didn't know anybody who surfed. Then in my early 20s, one of my best friends at SNL grew up in Huntington Beach. He started taking me out surfing, and I started going out to Montauk. Eventually, I got a place out there, or I'd go to Puerto Rico, or just go surf whenever we had weeks off from SNL. And now I've probably been surfing almost 20 years. I was curious. That timeline does check out. Colin Jost has been a writer at SNL since 2005. So yeah, almost 20 years. Joe says, "But I'm a pretty cautious surfer. I mostly longboard in Montauk. So being here, I've been out surfing a few times. I was lucky to go out with John Florence and Carissa Moore at Bad Pass." The surfers are like, "Oh yeah, we know what you're talking about there." Johnny Mac, "No idea. Sounds cool." Joe says, "It's so much fun to go out and surf a faster reef break than I'm used to." Last night was the kickoff of the Laugh Out Loveland Comedy Festival. Friend of the show, Dan Bublitz Jr., is one of the powers behind this thing. It is the second-year comedy festival featuring over 25 comedians from across the country. Dan said last year the response on the sport received was overwhelming. "We were unsure how the new festival would be received, but every show sold out and we had to turn people away. That was a good problem to have in our first year. We hope to have the same problem this year." Let's check out the lineup tonight over at Loveland Ale Works. I could go and have an ale. Laugh Out Loveland presents Stand-Up Comedy Showcase featuring Zach Reinert. Zach plus 5 comedians. Over at Verboten Brewing, "I see what you're doing here, Dan Bublitz Jr. You're going to make me have some beverages with my comedy. Twist my arm." The Laugh Out Loveland presents Stand-Up Comedy Showcase featuring Adam Clayton Holland. Nice booking. That show's at 9. Oh, and the first show's at 6:30. I see. So I sit through 6 comedians at Loveland Ale Works. Then I have a little bit of break. I get some food somewhere. I head over to Verboten Brewing for a 9 o'clock show with 7 comedians, and then I get back to my hotel room at 11:30, and I'm like, I'm never drinking again. I see what you're doing, Dan. Details at laughoutloveland.com. Fun festival there. At the Fringe Festival, if you're over there at 14:30, I love saying 14:30 instead of 2:30. 14:30 just sounds more interesting. Sarah Hester Ross is what? Judy Gold says the Vegas headliner is so talented. Do not miss this hilarious show. Daily Show creator Liz Winstead says Sarah Hester Ross is the angry musical feminist comedian we need right now. Sarah Hester Ross is what? Is her premiere debut at the festival. Again, the show's at 14:30. Shows all this weekend and then throughout the month. And comedy magician Piff the Magic Dragon has cloned his assistant Mr. Piffles. Mr. Piffles is a dog. Piff spent $60,000 cloning his Chihuahua sidekick to allow the original Mr. Piffles to retire. Piff said, "Mr. Piffles has earned the right to a royal retirement, and for the past 10 years, I've been looking for a replacement. I searched rescue shelters far and wide for Chihuahua able to live up to the legacy. I needed a dog who could do card tricks, read minds, and withstand being shot out of a cannon nightly. After a decade of fruitless searching, I gave up and Googled Barbra Streisand. For the very reasonable price of an Audi Q7, I now have the dog of my dreams again." Piff says, in a groundbreaking and possibly barely legal move, you can get your own cloned Mr. Piffles for just $120,000. Piff is calling his tour the "It cost $60,000 to clone my dog, and now I need to make the money back" tour. Before I get letters, adopt from shelters. Every dog I've had since 1981. Shelter, 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 shelter. I did have a dog when I was 4. I don't know where my parents got that one, and both my parents are gone, so I can't even find out. But my dogs now, shelter dogs, and that is your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. If you would like the show commercial-free, link in the show notes, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.